So after you saw the puffs of smoke and you just realized that chaos was about to ensue, you guys just maintain, visual of that?
Yeah, we maintain visuals, and then different people just, it becomes, I don't want to say it becomes a responsibility of somebody else, but other segments start taking over.
So you served for 16 years. So from what, 20?
I did my 20 from 2002 and I retired in 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you served under 4?
Bush, Obama.
Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. 4 presidents. Yeah. You're saying incredible. That depends on the administration of what you guys are going to be tasked to do. Did you guys work with other entities, or was it just Marines only?
No, we did. No, we had, we worked with Delta Force. We worked with the Navy SEAL Team 2, particularly. But yeah, we had 3 Navy SEAL teams under us and 2 ODAs. They're the Army Ranger guys.
Yep.
Them. And then us, so it was like 3 branches, and then we had the Air Force supporting us, in the Marines as well with airstrikes. And yeah,
who was the best that you like to work with?
All of them.
Welcome back to another episode of Ill Eagle Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I'm your host, John Ostos, aka Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with my 2 counterparts, Dion, 2 Cup Larry, and Cody, Big Meat Mauk.
Yeah.
And we have another special guest in tonight. It's a longtime friend of mine. We go back to high school. Salomon Chavez. What was your nickname back then when you were banging 187 Mob?
I don't know.
You weren't Smoke Loke, were you?
No.
You don't want a nickname no more?
No idea. I have no idea what it was. I don't recall.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show, Solomon. It's a pleasure to have you, bro. So yeah, me and Sal, we go way back, man. Why don't you tell a little story about how we know each other and how we came to be homies, man?
We were actually banging the same chick. Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Oh, I do.
Eskimo Bros.
I do.
Eskimo Bros.
What was it? Jessica?
Well, check this out quick. I'm sorry.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Put that on your leg.
This.
And then point to the mic. There you go.
That'll be better. No, you're good. I didn't want to interrupt. But.
Was it Jessica? She lived across from the 7-Eleven.
Ooh.
Jessica.
Like where you
got
lived.
Me sweating, bro. I'm nervous now.
Yeah,
shouldn't have asked you that.
Yeah,
you started.
It was 30 years ago.
Jessica.
Where you lived.
Kayla's gonna be like, who's Jessica?
There was a 7-Eleven, right? There was a 7-Eleven in the corner, and there was a Jack in the Box, and she lived in the apartments across from 7-Eleven.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was her name Jessica?
I don't know if it was Jessica or something.
Dang.
That's right.
She had kind of like curly hair.
Yeah.
Really pretty with the big butt.
Yeah, I vaguely remember her, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That is totally how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah.
Because
you're like, hey, that's my girl. Like that.
No,
neither one of us was like dating her.
Yeah, nobody was dating.
She was just that girl, you know?
Yeah, it was.
You guys were like in passing in the hallway and just high-fived or what?
No, I think.
He was jumping out the window as I was climbing in. Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah, he was like paging her.
Yeah. Everybody clapping them cheeks.
Yeah. Who's John?
No, I think she asked me, she's like, you know Johnny? And I was like, Johnny? He's like, yeah, he's in ROTC. I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, hey man, I'm just gonna stick with Jessica for the purpose of this conversation.
Yeah, fuck it.
I was like, hey man, you know Jessica? And you're like, yeah. And then we just started talking about it. And then like, when you're like, when right?
What they're doing.
What they're doing.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, I don't know if he asked me or I asked him, I was like, hey, are you banging her or did you bang her? And then one of us like say, yeah. And then we just kind of like high five at each other. And then we just kind of like, I don't know, just went from there. She was like really cool too, man. She wasn't
she was chill.
Yeah, she was chill. She was not.
She was friendly.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Eskimo brothers for life. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a bond you can't break.
Yeah, that's the only one we'll tell about.
Yeah, you're definitely the only one. Yeah, that's the only one. Yeah. So that, and then of course the relationship that we had with our ROTC instructor, Chief Martin, Eric Martin. We were both in the Air Force ROTC in high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And, we both didn't have fathers growing up. So he served as a father figure for both of us.
Yep.
And we just became really close. We realized we had a lot in common. And, we didn't realize it then, but that bond just started back then and we just carried on all these years. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I think we had some classes together. I know we were in like science together. Remember like Tiffany and what's her name? That Filipino chick, Tiffany.
Yes.
I can't remember what we used to call them. They had funny ass nicknames we gave them.
Yes. Yeah. I remember her now.
Yeah, no, but that's pretty much how it kicked off. And I think you were living with your sister because your mom was up in LA.
Yeah.
And so he was living with his sister and I guess you just didn't want to do that. And I ended up telling my mom, like, can you come stay here? And he lived at our house for a while and we went to high school from there.
Yeah.
So you lived with them until you graduated?
No, until he moved.
Until I moved.
Yeah. You didn't graduate from that school?
What's that?
You moved up here and graduated from up here in high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Which high school did you go to?
Fargo High School.
South
Fargo?
Yeah, they call it South now.
Yeah, it was like half a year up here. So it wasn't really.
What brought you up here?
My sister moved.
Up here?
Yeah, up here. So
did you guys have family up here?
No, my brother-in-law, he was working for catamaran sailboats down in Oceanside.
Okay.
Fiberglass molder.
Fiberglass molding, and he would do repairs and so on. And then the owner's friend was from up here, from this area, and then he started Dakota Spas. I don't know if it's still around or not.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
The owner of it lived up here. So then he's like, hey, there's a job opportunity up there. So then my brother-in-law was like, sure, why not? Right. So he left. Oh, not left, but he moved. And that was an opportunity for me to start over again too, because I was getting into like trouble back home. So I came out here and kind of settled into the more quiet life. And then, just kind of life started taking over. And then I know he wasn't happy back in California as well. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey man, come visit. And then did you just visit or did you move?
No, I was just visiting. I think I was a year ahead of you, right?
Yeah, you were.
So I graduated from high school in June and then I came out here in like February, I think.
Yeah, when it was cold.
Yeah, and you were just finishing school up here when I came up here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had just come to visit. I was out of school. I didn't have nothing going on. I didn't have a job or nothing. I just bought a new car and I was like, fuck it, let's drive cross country. So then I came out here to Fargo and I was supposed to only be here for a little bit, but I ended up staying for like 8 months.
Yeah.
And during that time frame, I met Asia's mom. And then she had a false pregnancy at one point and we made plans to go back to California and then she wasn't pregnant. And then the rest is history. We were in California. She ended up getting pregnant and then moved back here. And I came back and wanted to be where my daughter was. And the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah.
And then you went off to the Marine Corps.
I did.
Yep. Now you recruited from here, right?
Yeah. I went to visit my brother-in-law's brother in Virginia. And that's when I decided to join the Marine Corps when I went out there. And then,
so you joined here and then what happened? You joined here?
Yeah. And then I went in the Marine Corps and that's it. Yeah. I went to boot camp and then 9/11 had just happened like a few months before that. I left in February. 9/11 happened in 5 months before.
Yeah, November or
September. So things happened pretty quickly. Things were happening. Looking back, things were like happening very quickly, very chaotic at the beginning. And when you are young and get thrown into that type of environment, you don't have time to think about like, oh, this is crazy. It's not for me type thing, right? Mm-hmm. You just try to adapt. And you had to grow up very quickly. The level of responsibility that is placed on you is beyond you can imagine. And you just go from there.
What was your MOS when you first joined the Marine Corps?
I first started as an aircraft mechanic, working on C-130s. And once my enlistment came to an end from that, it's called a lateral move to a different MOS. That's when I moved to Intel.
Okay.
And I did the rest of my 16 years in the intelligence community. And then I retired 3 years ago, and I've just been doing that for the past.
So your first 2 years were as an aircraft mechanic?
Yeah.
Did you deploy anywhere?
Yeah, we went to Iraq.
So you were in Iraq doing aircraft mechanics for C-130s?
I was a mechanic, but I was there providing security because of the plus up of the war right away. We didn't have enough infantry. We didn't have enough ground forces. So they were just grabbing from every MOS and filling these gaps that we had because it was just a massive area.
What year were you there?
2004.
Was it kind of like the Wild West?
Oh yeah, 100%.
There was no upper armored Humvees or anything.
It was as chaotic as you can imagine. It was just as chaotic as you can imagine. We landed in Kuwait like in the middle of the night, and it was like 115 degrees. We're like, holy fuck! We're like, God damn, we're not in Southern California anymore.
Yeah.
And we stayed there in Kuwait for a couple of days, and then we flew into Iraq. And as we were settling in or unloading the trucks with all our stuff, we started getting hit with rockets and mortars from all over the place.
Yeah.
So that was like our welcoming party.
And that was when you were like, what, 18?
No, I was 20 at the time, I think.
20. Still, I mean.
Just a pop.
Still,
that's wild.
What were you going through when that first started? You're like, shit, did I make the right choice here?
Yes and no. I think because when you sign up, you know what you're getting into, right? Like,
so what was the reason why you signed up? Let me ask you that.
I didn't know where my life was going. I didn't want to be working like in a factory, you know,
sure,
all of that stuff. They say America's the land of opportunity. So I was like, let me just try something new.
When 9/11 happened, did that affect you at all or make your choice particular in that direction?
Yes, but I didn't know it at the time how. I just knew that it was not supposed to be happening type thing.
Yeah.
Right. Not in our, it's not in our soil per se.
Yeah.
Right. You see that in movies and you see that in foreign countries, not in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess it did play a role. And it just kind of aligned to where I wanted to be in life. I'm like, hey, I need something bigger in my life.
Did you see it come full circle now that where you're at now? Like, for instance, my example, I was in seventh grade when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And I joined Army National Guard at 17. Mm-hmm. And eventually I made my way to air defense. Mm-hmm. And I spent 3 years in DC, basically on rotation.
Yeah.
With Operation Clear Skies, making sure that 9/11 doesn't happen again. Yeah. So it was weird because like, I remember watching that on TV and then it was like subconsciously, I just knew that I wanted to join the service.
Yeah. And
then it just made my way full circle, you know, ended up in DC making sure that 9/11 doesn't happen again. So it was very
really
strange.
Got to be a part of it.
It was very strange, like the way that my career ended up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it did come like full circle, but I think for me, it was always about the opportunities that I was given and presented with. And just kind of kept trying to do something new and different. Not only like to benefit me and my future, knowing that the Marine Corps was going to be done with me one way or another, but also I really liked the job that I was doing. And also, you know, this country has given me so much that I felt like it was my duty to give something back as far as my capabilities.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of like how I felt.
So in 2004, you spent a year in Iraq?
Yeah.
A year in Iraq?
Yeah.
And then you come back and then you reclass into intelligence. Mm-hmm. How did that go?
It's hard as fuck, man.
Yeah. Was it like 4 months long?
No, it's longer than that. It's hard. You know, it's like the Marine Corps is the smallest branch, and the intelligence people within the Marine Corps, it's even smaller.
Oh, I bet.
You know, so the schools are hard, and they're designed to be hard. They don't just want the average person handling that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was challenging, but it changed my life. The Marine Corps changed my life in general, but then moving into the intelligence community changed my life even more.
Did you deploy it all with the intel?
Yeah, I went back to Iraq, went back to Afghanistan, deployed to the Pacific, even though that's not really a deployment. But we were doing stuff out in the Pacific, South China Sea.
Watch your mic discipline, bro.
Going to the Pacific and doing stuff in the South China Sea, stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty.
Were you guys tasked with like searching high value targets or trying to find intel on high value targets?
We did. There's within the intelligence community is broken down into the like different sections. You have like your conventional, And then like you have your special forces. So I was conventional, and then I did 6 years in special forces. So during those 6 years, we went after like HVIs, high value individuals. And so that was exciting.
So you guys were basically tasked to put together these packages for the special forces. Yeah. And then they would go out and carry out the mission.
Well, we were the special forces.
Okay.
So we, it's a fusion of all of us. There's different intelligence. We have geospatial intelligence, signals intelligence, human intelligence, analysts. You have all these people, and the special forces guys, they blend everybody in. And then you're given a task and the mission that aligns with the intelligence priorities of the current administrations. And then you just do that for as long as you're there.
So you served for 16 years. So from what, 20?
I did my 20 from 2002 and I retired in 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you served under 4?
Bush, Obama.
Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. 4 presidents. Yeah. You're saying incredible. That depends on the administration of what you guys are going to be tasked to do. That's kind of crazy.
Adds up though.
So I don't know if you're allowed to say this or not, but when you're in Afghanistan, did you hear any talk about protecting or doing anything with opium fields?
It's we were not protecting opium fields at all. There's a clear stand of where we are as a nation and as the military. And we were not there to protect any drug dealers, any of that stuff. Yeah, we were there for a mission, and that was to bring stability to the country and deal with the people in charge. What they did on their own time or what they were doing behind closed doors, that was not our business. Is whatever they were showing up to do then and there for their communities in their regions. So we were not personally, and I don't know any other service that was personally protecting drug fields or any of that, or any transportation of illegal drugs of any of that.
And you guys were basically there to do the same thing as far as trying to find those HVIs?
Correct. Everybody has, there's always a chain of command, right? There's always a chain of command in the civilian world or in the military, and even the bad guys have a chain of command. So that was our job, to find these guys that were making these big decisions, whether it was setting up ambushes, attacking convoys, disrupting local civilians, causing civilians bombings, those sort of things. Everybody has like a role, or the bad guys has a role. So we prioritize who was being the most disruptive, who was causing more chaos in the area that we were in. And then we would go after and take them out.
Mm. Is there any like specific stories that you're allowed to relate to us?
Like you got a high profile one that you thought was awesome that you didn't care to talk about?
Oh man. I don't know. To us, all of them are high profiles. You know?
Okay.
Everybody. How do I frame that? It's, they're normal human beings, right? Just like you and us. They live in their own world, but they're also they're doing some really shitty stuff. And some people are more bad than others, right? But they're, at the end of the day, they're still fucking terrorists, or at least that's what we label them, as terrorists. So I don't know. Just everything we did everything was different, you know. Because they hide in different areas. They use different methods of concealment and try to blend in. So every mission we did was different. So we had to use different tactics, different different ways of going after them. So everything was kind of different.
Did you notice a big difference from Iraq to Afghanistan as far as, war and tactics and culturally, huge difference culturally. Yeah.
But yeah, like Iraq was more hands-on, more offensive all the time, versus Afghanistan was a little bit more offensive, defensive, because they would bring the fight to us as well. So that was, I think that was kind of like the difference. The terrain is also very different in Afghanistan than there is in Iraq. So those were the biggest hurdles and obstacles that we had to face in Afghanistan. The terrain was always, we were always battling that terrain.
Yeah.
Versus Iraq is just one big open desert.
Sure.
Lots of the terrain is very different in Afghanistan. So we always, that was our primary
a lot of valleys and mountains in Afghanistan.
Yeah, valleys, mountains, rivers, like everything. So it was different. The environments were very different. So the missions and the tactics had to change as well. The personnel involved had to change as well. So it was just.
Did you guys work with other entities, or was it just Marines only?
No, we did. No, we had. We worked with Delta Force. We worked with the Navy SEAL Team 2, particularly. But yeah, we had three Navy SEAL teams under us and 2 ODAs. They're the Army Ranger guys.
Yep.
Them and then us. So it was like 3 branches, and then we had the Air Force supporting us. In the Marines as well with airstrikes. And yeah.
Who's the best that you like to work with?
All of them, man. Everybody brings something to the table.
So there wasn't anybody that was more difficult?
I mean, a lot of it is personality based, right? And it's all how you develop that relationship with those people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so everybody brings something to the table, something valuable to the table. So as long as you respect each other and appreciate what they bring. Yeah.
This is crazy to me because so like we've been friends this whole time, and we're those friends, we could go months or even years not really speaking all the time, but when we connect, we connect.
Yeah.
This is like first time for me hearing a lot of what he's been through. Now, the Salomon I know, this is a completely different human being. Like him being in the military, in intelligence, like in ROTCs, I was the chief master sergeant of the campus. So like it's a different level than when he was just this little punk airman, you know, like it was a completely different style. Now he's this supreme like military guy who's been in intel and all this stuff. It's a weird thing for me to hear you talking about this stuff, bro. Cause I just remember thugging.
Yeah. I don't think we ever sat down and talked about it.
Yeah. Even when we lived here together. I mean,
were you enlisted the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you retire as?
As an E7 kind of charm. Yeah. I had if I would have stayed, I would have got promoted to master sergeant, but I was going through a divorce. My first one. So then I was going to be asked to move, and I was not going to move and not see my son. Yeah. You know, I grew up without a dad, like I stated earlier. So I was not going to do that to my son. I was like, no, fuck that. You know, I knew the service was going to come to an end one day. So it's better to do it on my terms than it is on their terms.
So for like and forgive me because I'm not as versed in military stuff. So on a typical mission, like in Afghanistan or Iraq, like how big was the crew that you were working with directly? How many people were there? Or not there, but working with you directly on that said mission?
I would probably say no more than like 50 at a time. But we have hundreds of people supporting us. Yeah. So we would be out in a very small area, and there would be, I don't know, maybe like 25 of us, maybe max groups at one time. But the higher echelons that support us, there's a lot of more people included in there. Mm-hmm. For medical support, air support, transport, ground, QRF, quick reaction force in case we get into some shit and we can't really help. So those types of things. So it's layers and layers of support that come with it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So you guys are, I would say, probably a pretty important group. Did you guys have people that were watching you in the sky?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's crazy.
It is.
You see that on the movies. Like
it's nuts.
You'd see, the drone pictures of people in the
screens. All the time. All the time. We can't disclose like how long our drones can stay up in the air, but they can stay up there for a really long time. And when it's time for them to head back, there's somebody in there to replace them.
Yeah.
So
that's
like
wild.
we had eyes in the sky 24/7.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's got to bring you some comfort, especially when you're there and you don't know anything about like the terrain and stuff like that, like, or where you're going in a full case scenario. Like when I'm in a different city, I feel uncomfortable, but just knowing somebody's up there just watching you. And I mean, they can't really do much from there, but
warnings.
Yeah. A quick warning is always nice,
100%. 100%. I would agree.
But that's a scary situation. It makes my heart beat just like harder just thinking about it.
Did you guys ever get some spicy situations?
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time. But it happens so often that it just becomes like second nature, right? It's like you're going between bases for a resupply, whatever, and you start getting shot at, or the shit starts blowing up. You're like, oh fuck, okay. Like accountability, suppressive fires, making sure everybody's taken care of, and get out of the hot zone or whatever it is. It's just like your mentality shifts from like everyday things to like survival, right? And then I believe our military does 100% like train us the best that they can. It is far superior to any other service, not other service, any other country. So when stuff like that happens, our training just kicks in, and everything else just goes to the side.
When was the last time you were in Afghanistan?
2013.
Okay.
I think it was the last time. Yeah. And then we began to draw down after that. And then as soon as was it Obama? Yeah, I think it was Obama. Yeah. Once we began to withdraw, it just like like our type of missions ended rather quickly, and everything else was just kind of like it was kind of like an occupying force for the army that was taking primarily role of everything that was left, and then we slowly started transitioning back, and we shifted our focus to somewhere else.
What'd you think about the withdrawal?
It's a bag of mixed feelings, because you see a lot of the work and a lot of the friends that you lost kind of just
not matter.
Yeah. Right. And that's the hard part. But you also have to be a professional that this is the business that you get into, right? You didn't join the military to fucking build roses and build houses and gardens, right? That's not what you got into the military for. So that is the reality where you have to tell yourself what you got into the service for, what your job was, and the consequences of those decisions. And that's just part of like life, and it takes a while to accept it. Some people never do. And that's the hardest part when people can't accept it, and then it consumes their life, and it just consumes their life, and it's sad.
Do you think that we should have maintained a presence there, at least the airport?
It's difficult to say, because something has to give, right? Like you just can't put thousands and thousands of American citizens in a foreign country and expect things to go okay every single day. Yeah, it's like, well, it's their country. You know what I mean? So it's difficult to say. I'm still struggling with that, but I know that we owe it to our nation to protect its citizens to the max.
But the way they handled it was shit.
Could have been better.
It was, it was complete shit, but could have been better as a nice way. Better.
When those, the last thing that, what was it, like 11 service members that died? Or 13? 13, yeah. So 11 Marines, Corpsmen, and 1 Army.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually watching it on the drone when that shit happened.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I was at work. And chatter started like picking up like in the area, and hostels were like, things were getting hostile and started building up. And you can slowly start feeling like the tension growing in that. And it started getting chaotic really quick. And then you just started seeing like puffs of smoke, like really fast, really quick. You're like,
damn,
fuck. Yeah. And then when you start seeing like, when they, as soon as they start calling QRF, the shit went sideways. And then just kind of pause, and then you start seeing Two Marines KIA, confirmed KIA, waiting on the rest. 2 additional KIA, waiting on the rest. Like the numbers start climbing. Holy shit, right? Because even though things happen, like service members die, not a lot in one
situation. Like that,
yeah. So then that just kind of brings the gravity of the situation, just kind of exacerbates a little bit more, and it just kind of reality hits. You're like, so reality hits. This is real, the real deal. You're not. This isn't fucking Call of Duty on your computer. This is not any of that. It's real consequences.
Did you hear any chatter about Tyler Vargas having the guy in his sights? Tyler Vargas was he's one of the guys that got blown up. He's a quadruple amputee. He was on Sean Ryan that did a 4-hour podcast. Amazing. But it was my understanding that he was, I want to say, a sniper, and he was there and had the guy that blew himself up in his sights and reported it, but there was just no relay of information.
I cannot comment or speak to that since I have no knowledge of that. I can only, explain and talk to the best of my ability the things that I witnessed and saw and was a part of. There's just so much stuff happening all the time.
Yeah.
So much stuff happening. There's different.
What was going through your mind when you see all of those people surrounding the base, women throwing their babies on barbed wire, and were you able to see all that, or was it too far away?
It's too far away, but the feeling is this is out of control. We should not be letting, this level of civilians get this close to us. There's just too much chaos for all of this to be. We're too close.
Where was the disconnect then? What happened?
This motherfucker. If you want to put the blame on somebody, it's just like it's all up and down the chain of command. You have your orders and you have your guidance and orders, from the president to Secretary of Defense to everybody. And even though you have clear guidance of what it is, the situation dictates.
Constant changes.
Yeah. And then also they have their own interpretation of what that looks like. You know what I mean? If I tell you, hey, bring me a warm cup of water, your interpretation of warm is different than his and is different than his, right? So, and that's what I mean by that. It's sure we have your orders and guidance, but it's how people interpret them and how they apply them. That really is what matters and what happens.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's crazy. As I hear you talking, man, it reminds me so much of Chief. Like your demeanor and everything is just totally reminiscent. Yeah, it's crazy compared to who we were back here. I would have been in 10th grade here. So you would have been in 9th at this point, or
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a wild photo.
Handsome boys there.
Yeah. Yeah, we were kids there, man.
Yeah, we were punks.
You guys look like some troublemakers, I'm not gonna lie. John's got that smirk on his face too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We didn't give a fuck about much back then, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's always been white girls though.
Oh, yeah. They have better credit score.
So after you saw the puffs of smoke and you just realized that chaos was about to ensue, you guys just maintain, visual of that?
Yeah, we maintain visuals, and then different people just, it becomes, I don't want to say it becomes a responsibility of somebody else, but other segments start taking over, right? It's like, yeah. So QRF takes over, medical takes over, just all these other elements that are in place start taking over, and people that are not dealing with it directly start getting removed from it.
Wow.
And then, yeah.
Were you there watching as the last bird went out?
No. I was not there for that part. I had like left before then. So no, I was not there for that. So, but I was on one of the last flights to leave out of Iraq. And I remember that. I'm like, I am never coming back to this fucking place. And never went back.
What's worse, Iraq or Afghanistan? Force of peace?
They're both crappy, right? It's like your definition of hard is different from your definition of hard and my definition of hard. You know what I mean? It's just the people, the situations, everything is different and that.
Did you see any of the boy love in Afghanistan?
The what?
Boy love.
Like boy love?
Yeah, like the
Chomos.
The locals that were into pedophilia.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of their culture.
But you can't like what was your feeling like seeing that and not being able to do anything because you're not supposed to inject into culture.
I mean, it's disturbing no matter what way how you look at it, right? But you also there. You have to remember why you are there.
Yeah.
And our mission was to help the local populace and to help the people that were representing their country. You know, beyond that, unless we were asked to intervene and given approval, but if we were asked to intervene by the locals or the citizens, is one thing, and then given approval by U.S. representatives, that was completely different, right? So just because they want to doesn't mean we have to jump at everything. So my personal feelings is like, yeah, it's messed up, but you know, it's hard. It's hard to say it's not my job, right? Because it has so negative meaning to it, but that's not what we were there for. And it's hard to accept it, but it's like,
but there'd be like serious ramifications if you did do anything and get involved, 100%. Right? Like
100%.
So it's not that you didn't want to so much as you just really couldn't, even if you wanted to, without serious repercussions.
Yeah, like serious repercussions, and just serious things. Not only like to you personally in your career, but then also in the grand scheme of things. Right now, you have somebody that's opposed against us being there. See, your men don't know how to behave. This is why you guys are invaders, right? One small thing can ruin a lot of what we are there to do, and a lot of what the current administration's plans is to try to advance. One situation we had two villages where the well was providing water to two villages, but the well kind of fell and slightly overturned on one of the other villages, and they were controlling the water for the other people. How do you, as an American, solve that? How?
Yeah.
You can't, right? But we're there to help them. But that was this is a very small problem that over the thousands of problems that existed while I was there. And how do you inject to that?
Yeah.
You know, how do you rationalize with people like it's water? Everybody deserves water, right? Everybody deserves water.
Especially in the desert.
Especially in the fucking desert, right? Yeah. But it just happens that years and years ago, the nephew of the village elder where they need water happened to rape or murder somebody on this side of the village many, many years ago, and that grudge is still there. How do you
those people hold grudges, huh?
It's a life. It's a life thing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a life thing with them. So, and that's just a very minuscule example of like the thousands of things that happen. And that is really, really difficult. Like to say, like to inject myself into a particular situation. It's like, okay, I have, $1,300 to buy you another well. I'll order it from Amazon and fucking give it to you. It'll be here in 2 months. Like that was an easy solution for us, but we couldn't intervene in something like that because the shift of power shifted. Right now, this village can say the Americans are supporting this, and people in other parts, and other tribes and other villages, now that we're kind of neutral, now they're leaning with this, and now they're going to all wipe out this village. It's just a very, very different culture from what the U.S. is. So I think that was the hardest part especially for the young Americans, that we are trained to do a certain job, and then you go and you get thrown into culture. Like, this is what it is, right? You're not supposed to look at women, not supposed to talk to them, all these things. And you're like, but I'm just like an 18-year-old kid from America, whatever. Nah, it doesn't work that way. So I think that was the hardest part to see and try to kind of comprehend.
Did that freak you out when you went to Afghanistan and these women were fully covered with their eyes? That didn't freak you out at all?
Nah. No, it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't affect me. Obviously, I learned about the culture before we went there, so I just knew it was part of the culture, and you just learn to accept it and respect it. I know my job was not to go there and fucking hit on women, see how pretty they were, and any of that, right? I had
but did you? Because I know you.
No, no, man. Like the stress and the tension and just how dirty the fucking country is. You're just like, it's a whole different.
It's not even tempting.
No, man, it's not even tempting. Like the smells, all of that is like,
I bet.
I'm good.
So when you were in Afghanistan, man, we've had a couple people on. I believe Cody's boy Scove.
Yep.
I think what was he? A Army Ranger, something like that. So he was over there as well. He's told us stories about how like they worked hand in hand with the Taliban because they had a common enemy at the time, which was a really trippy thing. So anything like that you ever experienced. And then another one is another guy that we had on who was he was an Iraqi. He fought with the Americans. He helped them hunt down, was it Saddam or Obama? Or Sama?
Saddam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up coming here to America. So when we had him on, we couldn't show his face or anything. Yeah. So we just did a full audio of him because he still lives in the United States, and his family and everyone is in trouble otherwise. But he talked about the Kandahar Giants.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any encounters or experiences or hear any stories from the locals there about stuff like that?
So those the people you're referring to, they're called they're oh my God. They're called Cat 1 and Cat 2 translators, right? I think that's what it is. Category 1 is like locals. Category 2 is I believe is locals with some sort of validation or security clearance, and then category 3 are like U.S. citizens. They're interpreters.
Yeah, so he was probably like a Cat 2 guy, right?
Yeah, if he the guy that we had on, probably like a Cat 2.
Okay.
Yeah, he was from there. They left him, and then
he was a part of Saddam's regime for a while, and then came to help the Americans hunt him down.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah. So he was one of ours essentially, and he lives here in America now.
That's very common. A lot of
he joined the service too.
Did he?
When he came back here, he joined the service.
Yeah.
He's working on becoming intel in the Army.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about coming full circle. Right?
I know, right?
Yeah. We had a lot of my last tour there, we had a lot of blue on green incidents.
Yeah.
And
it seems like there was a lot of that.
It was. There was a lot of like blue on green. And
did you hear that noise?
Yeah, what was it?
I don't know what that was.
I don't know. It sounded like something was crawling in there.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Never heard no shit like that in here, bro.
Something in the wall.
Sounded like something was
something.
Yeah, clawing at the door or something.
H&I sign that's in there. It sounded like something was in it or something.
Dude, if a rat comes out of there, I swear to God, I'm out. I'm leaving.
You're on camera, bro. I'm a clown. You got to tough it out. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, you're fine. So we were in Helmand. My last tour in Afghanistan, we were in Helmand, and we had a lot of incidents in green and blue. We had 6 VSPs, village stability platforms, in different parts of like the Helmand River. And we have green and blue. Those were like people that we trusted that were inside our bases that attacked us like within.
Damn.
And so I lost 3 of my friends in one of those attacks. And we were trying to figure out like how the fuck were they infiltrating, like such deep into us. Especially because we were like in the special forces group. So they were infiltrating ours. We were like, what the hell is going on? So we had to clamp down really, really tight on that. And we ended up finding out that those people, the particular group, was being supported by Al-Qaeda. And they actually had a school in Pakistan where they were teaching English and they were teaching like all these things. And then they were going to those schools and they were recruiting those and embedding them into the programs that were vetted by the US government to bring on and help us. So they were being recruited when they were in the school and then kind of fed into the system that we were in. But they were just being trained terrorists from the beginning by Al-Qaeda.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
fucking nuts.
That's kind of what we talked about with like what China seems to have a capability of doing to us pretty easily.
Well, with the rent-a-womb shit too, that's just one of the angles.
The what?
Rent-a-womb. It's something. So I told you we do a lot of conspiracy shit on here, and one of the things that we talked about like last week on what we call "What in the World," is that it's now known that China is doing a surrogate program in America. So they're having, born nationals here, but that, they're just surrogates. So they take the babies back to China and then raise them to be able to just come back and forth as they need as American citizens. And it's been going on for a really long time. And it's clearly something like that, could be done very easily. Infiltration. So it's nuts.
Yeah. Especially in the foreign country where we are relying on the foreign government and local populace to do their vetting, right?
Yep.
And we all know how that works. We asked the Russians to build our embassy in Moscow in the 70s, and these motherfuckers put microphones,
a lot of bugs
in the walls and the bricks, all of that, right? So it's been happening for a really long time. The sophistication has just gotten better. And they've gotten more creative, like you said, like the rental rooms.
Yeah, that's stupid. Why the hell would we have someone build our embassy for us? Like,
especially after the Cold War.
Yeah, come on.
What's the deal with that?
It just goes to show though the lack of our government at a high level, man. Like if it's not corruption, it's complete ignorance. Then how did they get there to begin with?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Senator Feinstein, her fucking driver, a Chinese agent for 20 something years.
It's crazy.
And she was one of the most powerful female senators this country has ever had.
Yeah.
Her fucking driver was a Chinese spy
for 20 plus years. That's nuts.
That is just,
that's insane.
That's wild.
That is just fucking crazy.
Yeah. That makes no sense.
So we spent trillions of dollars on Iraq and Afghanistan, 4,000 plus American lives, right? Mm-hmm. Looking back at it now, do you think any of it was worth it?
All of it was worth it. All of it. You can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs, right? There was a lot of lessons learned, a lot of things that we evolved and learned from our enemies and from our other countries during this time frame. New partnerships, just new technology that was developed, new things. I mean, it's really hard to say, especially, right? It's like, well, you didn't lose your brother, you didn't lose your father, you didn't lose your sister. Like, it's I don't want to say it's easy for me to say that, but people will feel that way. But there's got to be a sacrifice at some point, right? That's kind of like saying the Americans that we lost in World War II, was it worth it? I'm asking you guys the question, was it worth it?
I don't know. It'd be hard for me to say.
Right?
Yeah, because I wasn't there.
This guy really gets into conspiracies.
Right.
But
just me.
If it was me, then yeah, I would say yes.
I would also say yes.
I don't know.
but
it depends on what really happened. That's my opinion.
Think about the alternative of, potentially of what would have happened if we didn't get into World War II. Yeah. But in, like, for instance, Iraq and Afghanistan, I guess the only thing I know that we've gotten out of that would be oil, and possibly, if you believe the conspiracies, the opium trade.
I mean, if you really want to say like oil, like our consumption of oil or import of oil didn't really go up from there.
Yeah,
we still have our own reserves. We still have the same levels. Could it be a balance of power? That could be debatable. I don't have the knowledge to elaborate and speak on that, right? Because it's just academia stuff. Like, how much did it Saddam control when he was there, or like keeping the bad guys away, keeping the Houthis in, all of that? How much balance did he bring to the actual country in that part of the world? Mm-hmm. It's like when you start weighing in those factors, and then you start saying, was it worth it? It's like, well, in the grand scheme of things, in my personal opinion, I think it is. Is it shitty and sad? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. And I'm sitting. Obviously, I have my 10 toes and fucking 10 fingers, right? So it's easy for me to say that. Other people might not see it that way. Yeah. But again, that's just my personal experience, what I went through, what I experienced, and seeing the outcome of everything that we have done up to now.
It bothers me because I feel like that we're seeing the same playbook right now going on with all of these senators and congressmen puffing their chest out, wanting us to go and bomb the shit out of Iran to get into another war. And it would just be the same thing all over again over nothing.
Yeah.
No, it would be for the defense of Israel.
Cody's more on your side, I should say, than ever. I feel like now
he's learning.
Yeah.
No, I've always thought like the Iraq and Afghanistan thing. Okay, you can debate whether or not you believe in it, but I don't foresee anything that we've gotten out of that would have been worth sacrificing 4,000 plus lives and
not at your level,
$2 trillion. And
you know what I mean? Like not at your level, not here in fucking Fargo, North Dakota.
Right.
And that is not an insult to you or to you guys in general. I'm just saying it's like, it's
what you don't know.
What's that?
It's what we don't know.
It's what you don't know. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the conversations that happen between all these other like high level politicians as far as like policies or shifting economic power or shifting all these other things, immigration, whatever it was, right? All these things that are happening at the bigger scale that evolve from those wars. Those are the things that we don't see. And it's kind of difficult to comprehend and kind of grasp when we're not exposed. This is not part of our daily lives. Like I said, it's like you just don't see it here, like in Fargo, North Dakota. But if you live closer to like DC, you will start seeing that more cultural centers are being opened up. The population has grown. Like all these other things are happening within the borders of the U.S. that arose from these wars, from people going abroad and traveling and doing all that stuff.
What do you think about those politicians wanting to go into Iran, or not go into, but basically take out Iran's nuclear facilities?
All the politicians are scumbags. They start with a good intent, but eventually to climb the ladder, you have to start cutting deals and selling your soul and selling who you are to achieve your personal goals and agenda. I would take that. I'm a hard believer that I would take that to my grave on that. Every single one. I believe they started off good, but at some point they're going to be like, if you want to continue, this is what you have to do for us. Right. As soon as you make that decision, your credibility goes out the window.
So I guess that kind of leads me into the next part of this conversation. So you left the military and then you got hired at a defense contractor, which is, are you allowed to say where?
Yeah, it's the company's called Peloton.
Okay. Oh, wait, Peloton? Or wait, Palantir. Palantir.
No, not Palantir. Peloton.
Peloton.
Yeah.
Peloton.
I haven't heard of that one. I heard of Palantir.
Yeah, Palantir. Yeah.
I'm invested in Palantir.
Yeah. Huge analytical company. Yeah.
What do you guys do?
Our main is tech into IT and computers, and but we also have space and intelligence sector, and that is where I work on. So essentially is like all the satellite systems that we have.
Smart guy.
I fucking wing it 90% of the time.
Most people do at that level.
Yeah.
So you're more into like the space.
Yeah.
I got a great question
future.
for you.
Yeah.
Is the moon landing, the original moon landing, was it real?
Yeah.
It's real.
Uh-huh.
The footage that the American people saw, that was real.
Yeah. It's real.
Ain't no way.
And
It's been compromised.
It's compromised.
And for those people that discredit it, there is also markers that we put on the moon that reflect lasers. So there, if you look them up, there's coordinates that you can shine. The laser's got to be strong enough that you can shine a laser that's powerful enough, and it reflects that light.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard this before. This is interesting. Yeah, I've never been in Intel.
Yeah. Or is this
So the last flight that just happened,
what flight?
The Jeff Bezos flight,
Blue Origin.
Went into suborbit
2 weeks ago or whatever.
with Katy Perry.
The Dog and Pony Show. Yeah.
So
that was fake as shit.
No, that was real.
Really?
Yeah.
And so the fact that their door open, obviously it's not as much pressure as like going into outer space actually, but even on an airplane, it doesn't open that way. Like a door.
What are you talking about?
So they open the
door
from the inside.
Yeah.
And it opens inward.
What's wrong with that?
A plane door doesn't open like that.
Doesn't matter. Like there's different. Why does a fucking Ferrari door or Lambo go up?
I'm talking about the pressure difference. So like, I assume a plane is built like that with the door that way because of the pressure that it takes on. No.
It all depends. It all depends who's building it. Most efficient way for them to build it. All of that stuff. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that the door opening, they're like, the way that they're debunking is just saying like, no, yes, they opened the door, but prematurely they wanted to make a spectacle for Bezos to open it. That's why they closed it and had him pretend to do it.
It was weird that it opened.
It was that they wanted Bezos to open the door.
Yeah.
But it depressurizes like automatically until they can open the door from the inside is what they say.
Once that thing, once the capsule comes into low Earth orbit,
that's as far as they went, was low Earth orbit.
Yeah, but like once it breaks the threshold of like several thousand feet, it's like it becomes like normal atmospheric pressure, and it just means it just balances to the outside pressure what's inside. So that's why there's no like suction implosion like you do with the fucking submarine that went out to the.
They weren't very far.
No, it was a very short flight, and like anybody, if you have the money, you can do that yourself too.
So when they start offering rides to the moon and stuff like that, you're going? No. You won't be in the first year of going to do that?
I have no desire to fucking be taking on additional risk that I don't have to.
Yeah.
So what if, this is a question we like to throw around here. What if you had the ability to live forever right now?
No.
You wouldn't do it?
I would not.
Interesting.
Why is that?
I believe your purpose, or I believe my purpose is to feel and live to the max of my capabilities. And I feel like I have done that. Anything else besides that, I think it would just be wasting time.
You don't think that feeling is derived from a lack of understanding what was available to us at the time when you've made those kind of decisions versus now where like, hey, sure, you fulfilled, but now what if you, like, saying you could live forever doesn't mean you have to. You could potentially say, I'm ready to call it here, and then turn that ability off and eventually die out of old age. But what if you could do more with more time?
I just finished a good book not too long ago that talked about.
Wait, you could read too?
I know, dude.
Son of a bitch! You've changed.
It's no longer a part of the
told him
homies.
that. Yeah, he's like
Cliff Notes. Let me just be specific. And it talked about. It said when you. It said
Is that the president?
No, vice president. So it said. When you acknowledge that you are not going to accomplish, or when you acknowledge where you are at in life, you will start living a more fulfilling life, et cetera, right? And I interpret that as like, I know that I'm not going to be a movie star, right? And I have no desire to be a movie star. I know that I'm not going to be the next Jeff Bezos or the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. I've accepted that. So, and that's kind of like what I took from it. So if the things that I've accomplished in my life, if I was to die right now, and if I was to be asked, did you love? Absolutely. Were you loved? Absolutely. Did you laugh? 100%. Did you cry? Yes, I did. Did you mourn? Yes, I did. So all these experiences that makes us human, that separate us from the rest of the species, up to now, I believe I have experienced them. So to feel that joy, am I going to feel that joy when my kids have grandkids? Sure, right? Probably I will. You would know, right? You just became a grandpa.
Yeah.
So now that you know what that feeling is, right? Sure, it's going to be different when your next kids have it. But it's a feeling that you're familiar with already. So I just don't see the purpose of living beyond, hundreds, even thousands of years, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
I just don't see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
That's right. Now we're going to get deep into the conspiracy.
Let's get it.
You work into the space area. Mm-hmm. What's going on with all the drones in New Jersey?
Yeah.
And all of
this is almost a year ago now.
And all of those crafts coming in and out of the water. We know that they're coming from somewhere.
So crafts.
Spill the beans.
In New Jersey?
So yeah, those things that out in New Jersey, remember they were floating for hours?
Like 6 to 8 months ago, maybe it was. And everybody was super nervous.
Biden never wanted to talk about it. Trump said that we know what they are and he doesn't understand why the Biden administration isn't telling us.
I honestly, I have very.
Then they came out and said that they're ours.
I have very little knowledge of what that is. I would have to read up on it to kind of.
That's surprising. You haven't heard that.
Well,
it was kind of a big deal.
Are aliens real? That's the question.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going to go to.
There is things that we cannot explain.
For sure.
Things that you have seen personally?
I have not seen personally, but stuff that I read that needs to get vetted at different levels of the intelligence community. There's only certain people that have classification authority, then they'll be like, hey, this is top secret or whatever it is, right? That can do that. So it has a pretty good vetting process. And some of the stuff that I read, I'm like, this kind of makes you like really.
This is in the military?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
Just I don't know, just stuff. People that see stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, people that
reports.
See stuff. Yeah, reports. Yeah, no, actual reporting. Yeah, so actual reporting that somebody saw something. He was like vetted by people that are that do this for a living, right? They question. They're like, okay, so you saw this. What did it look like? Like, what time of day was it? What did you do? Did it
like the jellyfish drone?
That's something new.
John, pull that up. This is in I believe it was Afghanistan in 2017.
Let me tell you, sorry for interrupting you, but I will, before you continue with your story, I will tell you this. There was people in Afghanistan that believed
giants
and dragons lived in their mountains. So this is the actual people.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, the Kandahar giants.
This is people that like we encounter, like actual human beings that would tell us there's dragons in those mountains.
Those are locals?
Locals. 100% human.
Too much opium?
I don't know.
See, but there's giants here too. Like Shaq's a giant. Like that's what I keep telling these guys. He's huge.
Iraq, but there's actual video of it that was released. Hopefully it shows the video. There you go.
Oh, that one looked fake.
Oh, that's real.
Who will likely disclose whatever information there is about the existence of an alleged top secret UFO program. We'll, of course, have much more on that tomorrow. Tonight is all about a piece of video that everyone is calling the jellyfish UFO.
Basically, that's the drone that's just floating. And this was back in 2017. It was just released recently.
I
don't believe any of that stuff.
You think it's fake?
That one looked fake.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that too. We probably talked about it on
I think we briefly like skimmed it. Yeah, it wasn't.
Have you guys used like Copilot or AI generator or anything like that?
All the time.
All the time, right?
I made my vows.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
That's how this show operates.
The AI era is here, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So in order for you to start, and I'm not saying you in general, like the general population, if you want to start jumping into conspiracy theories and like flying objects and all this kind of crap, you really need to dig into it, because so much stuff can be fabricated very, very, very quickly.
I believe that for sure. But I also believe that fabrication's being thrown into real shit too. So you can never tell the difference.
Yeah, they're infiltrating. Yeah.
100% it is.
Yeah, because there's been tons of very credible whistleblowers from top level government agencies and military lately who, like, podcasting is blowing up, and they're going on really credible podcast shows, and they're whistleblowing on all this stuff being real, and that there's all this witness account and there's document proof and all kinds of crazy shit. But when it comes to the government confirming any of it, you always just get we don't know anything about it. Like kind of the way you're talking to us today.
Good one.
Expert at circling.
Diversion, baby.
Yeah. I just think that it's when the government or somebody, like, I just say that, when the government, just for the sake of this conversation, admits to anything, they're just kind of opening the door and opening themselves up to question everything in history that we have.
Right.
And there's something, you will never satisfy the need of conspiracy theorists. You will never satisfy the media from getting, that's not all the documents, right? Like, there was 300,000 pages. We only got 298,000, you know what I mean? Like, where are the rest of the pages? That's where all the truth was. Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Like where do you draw the line?
Don't.
Right?
You open it wide up.
Yeah. And then what? And then you just live in this conspiracy theory society that you start questioning. Why did you pull me over? Oh, because you were going above the speed limit. Are you sure I was going to speed limit? Or are you just pulling me over because whatever, right? You're just opening up the door for a lot of stuff that there's no room or time for, to be honest.
Yeah, we're already there, bro. It's what our show's based on.
It really is. It's hard because, like, you connect the dots with a lot of stuff, I think. Well, like, for instance,
me in general, or just
I'm just saying, like, people. I'm talking about, like, this.
Okay, like what?
These propulsion systems that supposedly we have.
Propulsion systems?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is basically these drones or crafts.
Okay.
That
zero gravity.
Gravity doesn't affect them at all.
Okay.
Right. And Bob Lazar was on video doing an interview back in the 80s talking about this, this element, whatever, 115 or whatever it is that they use to whatever at this secret military base. Right. Yeah. And then you get all of the military folk that come out and tell their story, describing what they've seen in fighter jets. Yeah. That goes against every single law that we have as humans.
Yeah.
Even back in 2005, when David Fravor first saw that craft that was doing stuff that it shouldn't be doing, and so that's why I'm saying, like, all this stuff that you listen to and you see, they could all be bullshit, of course, but it just seems too convenient for all of it to be bullshit.
There's a lot of it. I mean, what is there to be gained from it? I think the first question that should be asked is, like, what is it to be gained from whatever
power?
But I'm saying, is, like, what is it to be gained from people?
Well, I think
and talking about.
Well, I think we want to know. We want to know where or how we came to be, and we want, like, breadcrumbs or answers or something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
when you say, like, we want to know, like, who is we and what in particular do you want to know?
We as humans, right? So we want to know, okay, if we know for sure that we are not alone. We are not the only species on this earth that exists. There's something else out there. That changes everything.
How?
Everything that the Bible talks about, God created human, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we know that there's something else that exists outside of the earth.
Yeah.
So when we're seeing this stuff on TV and we're starting to question it, I shouldn't say TV, but
in general, when you see
we see this stuff and it's like, okay, and even the Pentagon came out and said, yep, 2017, that's real. They came out with that news article in the New York Times. And so they basically acknowledge it. And I guess subconsciously we know that we're probably not alone, but we just want factual, like, yes, there is something else.
If I was to tell you right now, yes, we're not alone, what would you do with that information? How is that going to change your life?
They taught you some tactics, bro.
I would say it's not, it wouldn't change my faith at all.
Okay.
I wouldn't change my faith at all, but I would be more confident saying,
yeah, it's like the knowing is half the battle.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
If they said, hey, this one crashed into the earth at this time, this date, we've got its body in our lab. Here's a picture of it. This is it. This is real. I would be like, oh shit, this is legit. Like I would take that as a, it probably wouldn't change my day life. Like it would change my thought process a little bit on the world.
But then it also throws a wrench in everything, because then we know for a fact the government's been lying to us for the past, 80, 90 years.
And that's what harms
since Roswell or whatever.
The government's lying to you right now.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah. I mean, COVID blew that out of the water.
Like right now they're lying to you.
COVID blew that out of the water. But I'm saying like that is such a colossal lie.
I think, yeah, I know what you're asking. And I think it's important that you ask that question. And that's where you really have to. And then that's why faith, religion separates itself from facts, right? Because then you as an individual, you need to make the decision. What do you believe of the science of it? Or do you believe just your own faith, right? We have found elements in other planets that can only be made by human existence, right? Like it's a byproduct of something that's alive. So, but it's at a very micro scale. So that is a sign of life in another planet. So do you accept it and be like, okay, there's a possibility there's something and that we're not alone in this universe? That's proof already. Yeah. That is already proof that we're not alone in this universe, because there's chemicals and there's stuff that can only be, it's a byproduct of human life. So now that you know that, you can start, I mean, where do you go from there?
It's hard to wrap your mind around. It's hard to rationalize. And I think that might be part of why nobody comes out and says, yeah, for sure, this is real.
But before we start going into like, do aliens exist and that stuff, is like, why don't we force the Vatican to open their library?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We've gone down that too.
Why don't we start there?
Well, first of all, because they have historical evidence of aliens and UFOs in the Vatican already too. We know that.
I don't know that. And I know that the number of people that have been access to the libraries has been very limited.
Yep.
And there's only certain books that they've been allowed to touch.
There's one of them that's gone on the Sean Ryan podcast. She's a woman. Is she a remote viewer too? She just studied. Yeah. So, she was given access to these particular documents, and she says she currently has them in her possession. The Vatican allowed her to take them to study and research them more, because it's all based on alien and UFO existence, and they have documents within the Vatican that they've allowed her to take. So we know factually.
Do you know the Vatican owns a giant telescope in Arizona?
Probably.
They do. Why would they need a giant telescope in Arizona?
That's a good question for the Vatican.
Trying to see the God.
Yeah.
So, and then that's another reason. It's
who owns it? Where is it?
Somewhere in Arizona.
Okay. Does the state own it, or who owns it?
Vatican.
Okay. But it's still on the U.S. soil. So does it have sovereignty? I don't know. Because if it doesn't, if it's just in somebody's location, then you can request a Freedom of Information Act and see who owns a piece of real estate, where the taxes have been paying for, who's funding it, all of that stuff.
I would assume that the Vatican's funding it, but it's probably run underneath the guise of U.S. government.
Then that would be very controversial because of the separation of church and state. Right? That's why we have those laws. Because we can't do that.
When has that ever stopped anything?
It hasn't. But if, for to have it has not. But when you're using taxpayers' dollars to fund anything, we have a right to know. You can request it.
We do have right to know.
If you want to know what the U.S. government is supporting a Vatican telescope in Arizona, there's a Freedom of Information. I can start asking questions about that.
We should do that.
We should.
You good?
Well, set us up.
You're the one with the computer. Just go to the Freedom of Information Act and then put in who, what, when, where, why. And then they'll give you, I think it's like 7 to 10 business days.
We'll have to try it and see what we can come up with on that.
What would you think a Vatican would have a telescope for? If for sure, 100%.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. Now you're asking me like a personal question about faith in science, right? And I'm a very science guy, since that is what I do for a living. But I also have faith because of my personal experiences, So when you ask me that, I don't know what you think of it, because I don't know what their purpose is. I don't know nothing about it. So it can be for anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
Are you Christian?
Yeah.
So for your experience then, if we came out and said 100%, yep, there's aliens are real, would that affect you at all?
No.
Your faith, everything stays the same?
Yeah, everything would stay the same. Yeah, because I have not so I was in a coma for 19 days in 2020. I was in the respirator. I was really, really bad. And when I came out of that and started recovering, my whole outlook on life changed. So when I say I have faith, it's like my level of faith is on it's on a different scale and a different level for everybody until you experience it. So that's what I mean. But I'm also a science person because that's what I do for a living. Something that I can see, touch, feel, and actually experiment with. I can do that. So my level of confidence goes to that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I 100% believe in God, Jesus. I think more and more evidence is coming out every day with revealing that to be true.
Mm.
But if there's something else out there and the Vatican took out pages of the Bible because they wanted to,
not just pages, books
out of the Bible, Book of Enoch and whatnot, maybe we don't have the whole story.
Right. So for me, it's it's the same thing. It doesn't really necessarily change my faith. If anything, it gives me more confirmation that what we think we know about our faith is not even the tip of the iceberg, because so much of it is unknown. So like if aliens are real, then we could speculate. I don't know if you're a speculative person with your background now, but we can speculate that they were in the Bible and it's been removed.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost a lot of information, a lot of texts when the Library of Alexandria was burnt. What was it? I can't remember how long ago.
Yeah.
Right. It was one of the most advanced libraries in the entire world, the history at the time. And when it was burnt down, we lost a ton. So it set us back.
How was it burnt down?
It was during the invasion when they invaded Alexandria, and the library was burnt down. Okay. So it sent us back hundreds of years, because that was the most advanced library that we knew of at the time. So who knows what was lost there.
Right.
And then we had to recreate everything else. So the Bibles, I mean, how many Bible versions are there? How many interpretations of the Bible are there? There's no translation for certain Hebrew words into any other language. It's like we can kind of lean to like this, but it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
We're paraphrasing everything.
Yeah, we're paraphrasing.
Yeah.
So with that, how do you make sense of that? Like where do you draw the line of like, well, if they had not changed these words, we would have gone down this path.
Right.
It's kind of like,
yeah. I think as believers, that's kind of the only thing we're left with is faith.
Yeah.
We have to have faith that what we know to be true is true. And that if there is stuff missing, it doesn't change our truth. It just gives us more information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that could be as simple as, aliens exist. And that's what was taken out of the Bible for the sake of, like, I want to know everything. I'm just like Cody. Like, I want to know, I want things to be factual. I don't know how it changes my life, but it definitely gives me the leverage to be like, I fucking knew it. You know what I mean? How that changes the course of my life from that point on, I don't think is really drastic, in the sense of like knowing doesn't really complete anything for me beyond letting me understand that.
So it's personal satisfaction.
Well, no, I think it makes it more manic for me, because now I'm like, okay, what the fuck else do we not know now? And I need to find that out.
Okay. So So that is for personal reasons.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally personal reasons. Like 2020 changed my life in the craziest way, because it sent me down the rabbit holes of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of confirmation. I got a lot of weird shit too. Some of the weird shit, I was like, yeah, this is crazy. This is not, there's no way this will ever be real. And some of it has come back on the table for me, where I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It's back on. This shit might be real, because as time progresses, man, more and more weird and crazy truths get confirmed by government, by, history. Like, we're starting to see all these things unfold. And so I really, really peel back the layers on everything that I get into. And it's why I end up in weird places where even my fellow conspiracy theorists think weird of me. And then over time, they start to lean in the right direction. So it's hard to say, man, like, what does it actually change for me? I don't think anything, but the idea of having confirmation gives me some kind of comfort, because everything that I've experienced since 2020 has been supremely life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Spiritually, emotionally, like my trust in government, my trust in, the hospital system, big pharma, like, the nutrition side of things, like everything, bro. Science in general. I don't trust science for jack right now. And I'm a big science guy too, but man, I don't have any faith in science. I believe it's all lied, manipulated, and you can show proof and evidence. It's all paid for by the people who want the narrative.
When you're saying like science, like what particular, is there anything in particular in science that you don't believe in, or is it like, medicine,
is
nutrition,
medicine is
and space. The science around all that stuff, you can find proof and evidence of things being paid for by people who want a specific outcome, and it's provable by who the people are. For example, in nutrition, right? When research comes out about what's good for us and what's bad for us, and we're all in the nutrition world. These guys are bodybuilders too. So like, when we're in this realm, we have an understanding of what's good for us and what's bad for us. A lot of us are living on the fact that, red meat's really bad for you. And we, in the nutrition world, we eat lean meat if we're going to eat meat. Now we're learning, dude, fat is the answer.
Yeah.
You have to consume fat. 70% of your brain is fat. Your hormones, everything are controlled and operated by fat and cholesterol. And that's actually the optimal health, is to eat fat, not the lean meat. The lean meat has no nutritional value to us. But in the fitness world, and because of science, they've told us this is what's good for you, this is what's bad for you. Yet in the fitness world, more people are jacked up hormonally and nutritionally. They have bad gut biomes. All the women, have jacked up hormones and are taking every supplement you can imagine for their hormones.
Testosterone. Not able to have kids.
Yeah, men have way lower testosterone levels than ever. And it's all based on the nutrition. But if you go look at the science and the meta-analysis of all of this research, you'll find that it was all bought and paid for by big tobacco, big sugar companies, and big pharma. You think if they're paying for you to do research on sugar and the cause and effect to human life, that they're going to let you put out a research document that says, oh no, sugar's bad for you. And then you're still going to get paid? No, that doesn't happen. And it's documented proof that we can go back and find.
That could be across the board too.
It is across the board, I believe.
I've heard of incidences when they're testing certain vaccines and they'll have a double-blind study. Well, it turns out that double-blind study was tampered with.
Yeah.
And they came out with this, oh, this is clear for whatever. And it turns out it was all bullshit.
It's like the whole theory on red meat causing heart disease.
Yeah.
That study that they call it a study was a survey they gave to a bunch of nurses over the course of 3 years. And they just basically came to them and said, hey, what did you eat all this last year? Okay. Did it have meat in it? So like pizza is what the science is telling us makes red meat unhealthy for us. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Spaghetti, because it has meat in it. Sandwiches, hamburgers. They didn't take out the carbs, the vegetables were full of toxins and the sugars.
They said a cereal was more healthy than eating a steak for breakfast. That's what they said.
Than steak and eggs. Yeah. Lucky Charms is more healthy based on science. So that's where like I lose all my faith and credibility with science, because it's like, if it's that at that level, if it's that bad, and you look at the way humans are developing today, we're lesser human than we ever were. We're less optimal than we ever were. You know, like in our generation, we were a lot more capable than what the young generations are today by way of just nutritional and health and mental health too. I mean, look at the devices that we have access to. Our kids are raised on like this. I believe all this stuff to be intentional because these less optimal human beings are easier to control. When you're fully optimal and you're fully capable of doing for yourself and you understand truth, then you don't need to be governed. And that's a problem for the people who run.
I would agree with you on that. And the reason for that is because we get to see it in service.
Yeah.
Right. The people that get in, we get to see them where like my generation, like the people that came in, like at the same time that I came in, were like, you can see the difference in not only in age and the way we carry ourselves, but just in like the mentality and how physically we are built as well. So yeah, I agree with you that, it's, yes, nutrition is being manipulated at grand scales beyond my understanding for profit.
Yeah. And addiction.
I agree with that.
But you know who owns all the food companies now?
Yeah.
Big Tobacco. They bought all the food companies.
Yeah.
The one company who's known for making things addictive for profit has now made all of our food. They have scientists, nutritional scientists that are paid to figure out how to make our food taste so good and be so addictive to us. Yeah. Hence why we have so many chemicals in our food now, ultra processed everything, because they've figured out how to scientifically make it more addictive for us. So now when they tell you Lucky Charms are better for you than steak and eggs for breakfast, your addiction crave gets satisfied. You're like, holy crap, I can eat Lucky Charms with marshmallows in it and it's better for me than steak and eggs. Hallelujah. Satisfaction. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it sends people down the wrong path. I mean, we're seeing heart disease at a way earlier rate than we ever have, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's nuts.
Yeah, there's nothing you can, there's no argument.
Yeah,
there's no counter argument.
But that's what I mean about science, about why I don't trust science though, because that shit is all based on science. Everything that we're being told about based on science turns out to be an absolute lie or manipulation.
One of the biggest lies is the food pyramid. That's one of the biggest.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
For sure.
That was created by Seventh-day Adventists who believe religiously that meat makes you sin and fornicate. And so they don't eat meat. They started creating Kellogg, was a Seventh-day Adventist. And he started these meat alternatives, which was cornflakes and all this other shit. These are the carbohydrates that are poisoning our bodies and destroying our youth.
Yeah.
Have you heard of genetically modified? Well, not genetically modified foods, lab grown meats, where it's just built in a lab, basically. Yeah. What do you think about that? That's science and food put together right there.
I won't eat it.
I wouldn't eat it. I'd eat bugs before we have to eat.
Oh, for sure, because there's real protein in that shit.
That kind of stuff I won't touch.
I got a question. So being a faith-based guy and then also being a science-based guy, how do you believe that we were created then?
I'm going to stick with evolution. Yeah, I'm going to stick with evolution and some external help.
Like you think God was the external help to evolution or vice versa?
Something like that, yeah.
Interesting.
So
it's like the Big Bang is scientific.
That's proof. Yeah, the Big Bang, all of that. That is scientific proof.
So you think all of this, your anatomy, the perfect creation of everything we have in this world right now was all the result of an explosion? that manifested into a perfect science.
Or did God create that in which became an explosion? I guess would be the.
So here's when we say, God, is that just one entity?
I believe it's a Holy Trinity.
How so?
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
But yes, they are one.
And why would there only be just like one?
Because it's the Creator.
Okay.
You have a single Creator when you have faith in the Christian God, I guess I should say.
What would be the purpose of having a Creator?
Law.
What law?
God's law.
But so out of thin air, this Creator appear and he is created everything?
Well, he's God.
I know, but what caused it to be him?
I don't know. I guess I wouldn't understand that theory, but what would be the point of that understanding? So are you implying
you're asking
then
who created God or what created God? That created us?
God is omnipresent. He wasn't created.
Okay.
Now we're talking and it makes me just think we're just in a simulation. This is bullshit. Cause now you're like, oh, nothing started and everything started. But
this is one of the greatest debates of all time because nobody's ever right. Nobody actually ever wins the debate. It's all speculative and it's all just discussion.
But that makes me think like, oh, we are just in a simulation and somebody did turn it on. Like somebody just turned it on. And
see, I even will go as far as to say like in theory, aliens could be real and they could be God. And that could be, everything is still the same. The rules, the law, the Bible, all of that is factual. And the way we're supposed to live, we're supposed to be, loving and caring, have kindness and compassion. All that is real. Just, we never expected it to be what we refer to as that. By the way, I don't know if I ever told you that's Alamak Syra, which is Kamala Harris backwards, but he's an alien, right? But he could potentially be God. But when we look at that and we say that's an alien, we would never think that is God too. Yeah. But could that potentially be the way things are? I don't know. Maybe could that be what we have yet to discover and what's being hidden from us? I have no clue. But if aliens are real and they have anything to do with creation, maybe they are God. Maybe, there's some master alien out there that created everything. I don't know. I don't have any proof of that theory. I'm just saying I've gone as far as to think that's potentially something that could be a reality. I don't know.
See, you lose me with the process of evolution when you get to human beings and the ability to procreate like we do. And what did I say? The product of love. The way we love each other.
And nobody's born with hate in their heart. It's taught.
It just doesn't.
So it's too perfect. You
cannot tell me that this perfect thing being created from a mother.
And when you say perfect, you're referring to us as human beings.
Yeah, a baby.
Okay.
A baby. That's a miracle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Based on an explosion, it would have to be.
I mean,
based on an explosion.
That it's born with only love. Or like that it doesn't.
Yeah, where does good and evil come from? Like how did an explosion create that? What would you compare that to?
Good and evil is perception and is our understanding as the human species. We created that.
Right.
We decide what's good and what's bad. That's how we define society.
But it's our innate, the nature of our heart to make that decision for us. We know what good is because we've understood what bad is. So we understand pain, we understand sorrow, sadness, all that. Not just based on, we've figured this out. It's a real thing for us that we have something to compare to because we understand love right out the gate. I don't know if I would say we created evil as much as if you believe in the Bible, then evil was born of the devil. I'm not debating you. I just want to hear your theory on it all too, because you got that shit.
So what are the two oldest religions?
Catholicism and essentially it's all Christianity, but I believe it goes back to Calvinism. No? You tell me then. I'm not sure.
Hinduism and Judaism. Those are the two oldest religions in the world. Right. And if you go back to when Hinduism started, it started at this as this natural belief of being one with nature and one with nature. So there's a lot of it that's why people gravitate to that, because like there's no significant value to like watches, to any of that. They just want to be simple, right? And Steve Jobs lived by that philosophy. That's why you always saw him in jeans and turtlenecks. Yeah. Even though he was worth billions, he never had security, any of that. He lived in the same Cupertino home that he did all his life. But and the reason I tell you that is because, or the reason I say that is because that's how it started, of like living very simple.
Yeah.
So all in that is, all this stuff that we know now is like we created it, we invented it, like this love, all of that stuff. Like we did that as a human.
According to the Bible, we'll end on this too, so we don't have to go too heavy, because we could be here for hours, bro. We love doing this. but to bring us to a close, I don't think that the Bible preached religion. We created religion. God, or Jesus, when Jesus existed on earth and he walked the earth, Jesus was anti-religion. He went at everybody who like he went after the Romans, everybody. He condemned them for their religion. He didn't condemn sinners.
Well, it was organized religion.
Exactly, because religion isn't a part of faith in God.
Yeah.
Religion is man-made. So Judaism and Hinduism, whatever, all that stuff was man-created. That's not the first belief system per se. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, this is a forever debate that can go on and on. And a lot of people can be right on both sides of the argument for sure. But when you look just straight into the Bible, I don't ever interpret the Bible to be about religion. I'm not religious per se. I have a relationship and a faith in God. And I believe in a certain God as compared to other religions, if you will. But I don't think I think Jesus was anti-religion based on the stories in the Bible. He went at, the religious groups. And he was a lover of the sinners.
Yeah, exactly. I think religion in the Bible and all of that is a roadmap, and they're like instructions, and it's up to you as the individual to decide and do what you do with that information.
Yeah.
The difference between right and wrong, and we as a species decided that a very long time ago what's right and what's wrong. It is up to us individually to decide within ourselves. The greatest curse and the greatest gift the Creator ever gave us was free will.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's factual.
100%.
Yeah.
That is what I live by. Yeah. That is our greatest curse and greatest gift. Yeah. Free will, because that by your actions of your will, that's what your future is going to be. The outcome of your future is going to be.
Agreed.
Decided on.
Oh yeah. That was great, man. We'll end it on that. Good catch.
You're lucky, because I was about to go into space and everything. So
I saw him pick up his phone. I was like, we got to end this. Hell yeah. Hey, Sal, man, I learned a lot. I caught up, bro. I caught up of, what do we have? A friendship of
this is only
a couple plus decades.
This is only day one. 30 years, bro.
30 years,
30 years.
So yeah, I caught up a lot though, man. I didn't understand the depths of your experience, not just in the military. I mean, I always knew you were intel and all this other stuff, but we just never really talked about that stuff. The little time we ever had together, we just enjoyed our time and didn't get into the semantics, but that was good shit, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
This is really cool, man. Like, this is like...
It's fun. This is, I always tell people, man, I love podcasting because it gives us an opportunity to talk our shit and not have to argue with anybody.
Yeah.
You either listen or you don't.
I really like the mutual respect across. Yeah, I really like that. I think that's really, I think that's very helpful and very powerful.
It's therapeutic for men, you know?
Therapeutic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like all those things, right? That you're able to have like, it's because like you said earlier, it wasn't even a debate or argument. It was just a conversation about what's your experience.
We don't know shit, knowledge? Bro. We just we want to know.
What's your experience and knowledge and opinions about this?
Yeah.
So no, I like that. This is really cool what you guys got going on.
Oh yeah, man. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously, I appreciate you being here for the weekend, man. We both turned 45 this month and we're celebrating some cool shit, and we're all going out this weekend and going to throw down and have a good time.
Yes, sir.
So cool that you're here, man. Thanks for coming on the show with us. Everybody else, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the podcast, tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad. It does not really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.